This is the Swarm and Shoot Football Show with me, Louie Matsakis, the head football coach at Defiance College. We feature Defiance College Football and everything that influences our program. This show is brought to you by our friends at Big B Coffee right across campus on North Clinton Street. I'm actually having a cup right now, so everybody check it out on YouTube, and you can see the video of the cup and how delicious this beverage is. Get the finest coffee beverages, even tea, in Defiance, as well as great pastries, breakfast sandwiches to start your day off, and you can even get a pick-me-up like a lot of our coaching staff does in the afternoon. I'd also like to bring on board the maker of this fine apparel right here, and not just Nike, but we're talking about BSN Sports, all right? I'd like to bring on board our latest sponsor, BSN Sports, and Rob Held and his sales team are the professionals you need to get in touch with for all your sporting goods and apparel needs in Ohio. Not only do they work with high school and college sports teams, they also deliver outstanding apparel to businesses so they can brand themselves in a first-class manner. Welcome to the Swarm and Shoot Football Show, episode number 44. I have a special guest with me here, all the way from Lexington, Kentucky. As you can see, this is Coach Louie Matsakis. He coaches the special teams at the University of Kentucky for the Wildcats. How's it going, Coach?
Going great.
Yeah, well, how about this? Everybody's like, who is this guy? You know, our fans.
If I had a beard, it'd be like looking in the mirror.
Yeah, how about that? Oh, man. So, yeah, I wanted to give our fans out there and everybody just a little bit more insight about what's going on at different levels, and also give us some more insight about what's going on here at Defiance College. But in the SEC, you guys have been at the forefront of taking a look at the pandemic and how you guys are dealing with it. So give me an overview of what's happened since spring ball has shut down and so forth.
Well, first, it was kind of weird because we were in the middle of spring ball when all this stuff hit. So we actually had to cancel our last practice before we went on spring break because of the coronavirus. Then after that, the NCAA approved some stuff in terms of virtual meetings and different things that you could do, but we were a little bit more strict with that at first, you know, because we wanted to see, was there a chance that you could come back? Then no one really knew back in March how long this was going to last. So as it went, we went from, you know, being able to have 2 hours a week of virtual meetings where you could deal with academic issues if you had to, football issues, if you need to install anything you wanted to do, for 2 hours a week. Then actually May 3rd, we get approved up to 8 hours a week through the month of May and then into June. And then we'll figure out from there what happens after that.
Okay. So you just get a couple hours a week, which is interesting. They're right there for our fans and players and so forth to understand. That's where we got a different ruling at Division III, where we were actually allowed to have 16 days of virtual practice, so to speak, which is all meetings, but we could go through everything, and we dictated the days, and we could spend multiple hours. So if you look at it, in a week, you could have up to 4 practices in a week, and we could spend 2 hours of film each day. We'd get 8 hours in a week for a month, which, when I talk to a lot of my Division I friends, are like, wow, I wish we could have got that type of prep. I mean, would you not say that on your end? Same thing would have helped?
Oh, yeah, it would have helped because you could have essentially had at least all your meetings, your film review, stuff that you would have done during spring ball, you know, we didn't get. So now we're just trying to keep them engaged, find ways, because we only had 5 practices. So we were 5 practices in. So after the first couple of weeks, you've already watched all the practice with them. And we watched most of the stuff with them during the first week of spring ball that we did have. Mm-hmm. So now just trying to find ways to keep them engaged, keep them involved, unique ways of testing kids, quizzing kids, trying to find out what they know, make sure they're studying, because once they give the all clear, you got to hit the ground running. You can't waste any time backtracking.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And what I think a lot of people don't realize, like at our level, and you've coached Division III football. You were at Capital and coaching there with some playoff teams, some really good teams. And what's interesting is that we don't get our guys during the summer. And
Right.
if all this right now happens, I mean, I always think it's sort of interesting when guys like that have coached Division III that are at your level are sitting there looking, it's like, we could get our guys ready in just a couple weeks. But most guys at your level have not coached small college football. I think I heard the coach Matt Campbell at Iowa State talking, and he's like, hey, I played at Mount Union. We trained on our own and we took care of things. We came in and practiced for 3 weeks and played a game, and it's like you hear some of the other coaches like Nick Saban, who's in your league, and he's like, no, how much time do I need? 10 weeks. I need all this time to get these guys ready. So what do you guys actually do throughout all this time? I mean, you're talking about June, July. I mean, because those guys are actually, most of your players are on campus, right?
Yeah, in a normal situation, our guys are, they usually finals will be somewhere around the first, second week of May. And then they go home for the rest. They get away, decompress, try to, forget about football, forget about school, get refreshed. And then they usually come back first week of June. And I would say every one of our scholarship players and probably about 90% of our walk-ons take 1 or 2 classes in the summer. So some of them are trying to get ahead academically. So there's not as much strain during football season. They don't need to take 15, 18 hours. They could take 12 or so. So there's less academic strain during the fall. So they take that. Then there's, intense workouts with our strength staff. They lift, they run, they have team runs. The quarterbacks do a phenomenal job of getting all the receivers and DBs together, and they throw on their own probably 2 to 3 days a week. Our running backs and offensive line get with the D-line and linebackers and work on pass protection and run game stuff all on their own, because we can't do anything with them in the summer. It's just straight.
Do you get meetings?
Coaches.
Do you get some meetings in the summer too, though? At some point?
At some point, you do.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious how that worked, because it just seems like you guys, it's year round, and even at the small college level, and it's year round here, it's just we're working on different things because we're generally still recruiting all through the summer, which is a little different than you guys.
And for us, it won't be that way this year, but typically in June for us, we host, we'll have 8 to 10 prospect type camps on our campus, and we'll have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 underclassmen come to try work out at camp and try to get on our radar, that kind of stuff. Then we could also have had, last summer we had official visits for some of the kids in the summer, where now this year we won't be able to do that in June.
Okay, gotcha. So I can see how that's really going to change some things. Now, how do you guys as a staff, because we meet here, as our guys know, we meet every Monday and Friday as a full coaching staff, like virtually like this. And we set projects and so forth and sort of work through it from home. But how's Mark do? How's Coach Stoops do it there? As far as, do you guys meet much? How do you handle it?
We meet every Monday for about an hour and a half. And typically the way that it's broken up is the first probably 30 minutes or so is just general information. What's the update? Has any players or family members, since they're home, been in contact with the virus? Our medical staff will get on. These players had postseason surgeries. This is how their rehab's doing. Just general overview, how everybody's doing, how everything's going. Then from that, we usually go into academic meetings with our academic counselors, find out, because it's different. I mean, a lot of these kids, some took online classes, but now that everything's online, they don't have in-person study halls and tutorings and different things. Academic support is different. It's virtual. So we get updates on a weekly basis on how every player is doing academically. Are they falling behind? Are they ahead? Or is everything good? What they have to complete for graduation, eligibility, just general academic issues. And then we always finish up usually with recruiting in some way, like because everything's had to go virtual. So, we may have a kid that we're recruiting. We'll have to get on a Zoom call with the coordinator, the position coach, the head coach, the recruiting coordinator, different ways where in the past we used to sit in the office, talk to them on a cell phone, pass the cell phone around, or having kids on campus. They can't come to campus. So, just talk, usually spend the end of the meeting discussing recruiting tactics, how we can do certain things with the constraints that we currently have.
Didn't you, as a lot of Division I programs have gone the way of some, at least on campus, some virtual visits and so forth?
Yeah, we did. We had our video department, just phenomenal, create a virtual campus tour, like a video tour, different aspects of the building, the facility, the campus that we usually tour or see, try to create a video for it. So then that way we can, tweet it out, direct message guys, find ways to get them the information so they can see it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting because I've seen I think at the University of Kansas, Les Miles and those guys did an all-day adventure, and they were on live Zoom. I've seen that. I've seen what you do. Now, you actually have been privy to what we do here at Defiance College. And you went through it, and our virtual visit. How does that look to you? What would be your insights on what we're doing here?
Oh, I think it's cutting edge. I wouldn't think I'd be shocked if anybody at our level was doing something like that, let alone small college. I think it's a great way to reach the masses, reach a lot of recruits, getting your brand out, getting your name out, getting what you have to sell in a small college, the people, getting, just understanding academically, athletically, socially, what there's to offer in Defiance. And it was just a unique way to get it done.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's interesting because I haven't seen anybody else do it that way. But I think when I get calls from guys at different schools and some of the big schools, even I had a Big 12 school call me about it, and it was interesting. It's like, wow, we recorded a lot of our official visits, and we had a lot of raw video data that was part of this. So they felt like, some young man in Texas or Florida, Georgia, they couldn't come on campus, could get, a really good flavor of what it's about. And also I think it's helped us more than anything else in recruiting juniors, because we are way ahead of where we've been in the past as far as the visits with these juniors coming on. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah, and I would think it would help, financially, because that's the biggest difference between us and you all. Our recruiting budget's very high. Yeah. Most Division I schools have a high recruiting budget relative to small college, but it's a way that you could hit. I mean, theoretically, you could have all 50 states.
Yeah,
and have a recruit where if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be able to.
No, and that's a fun part of this. I think that's exciting on our end. Now, as we move forward, and as we hit the last part of this episode here, I've seen so much, and I know you saw a podcast or an Inside Access I did about this before, of all the different things, the different scenarios that could pop up with this. What are some things that you're hearing that are interested in because I know the SEC is on the forefront of a lot of this stuff, and other conferences they're all communicating. So what are you hearing about when we may start, or what some of the parameters may or may not be?
Well, I mean, I know they're going to want to play the sport of football. I mean, it's the number one sport in America, and they're going to find a way to do it. It's just right now, from what we're hearing, they want us to plan on playing in the fall. That's what everyone's saying. That's what we're trying to do. What that looks like, I mean, really only the presidents and athletic directors probably know. Because there's a lot of issues that go involved with trying to play in the fall with, how do you, if, for instance, if we get the green light in the state of Kentucky, July 1, we get the all clear to fully integrate and all that, but Alabama doesn't. Texas doesn't. Arkansas, they might get the go-ahead June 1. So how do you got to be able to do it so it's fair for everybody, and try to figure out, okay, do you wait until every state that's represented in your conference gets the all clear to allow anybody back, or as they get the all clear, you go. And then, like they were talking originally with the NCAA basketball tournament and even the NBA, where before they canceled all that stuff, playing in front of no fans, just limited, essential workers, the players, the coaches, and maybe immediate family. Is that something they do with early season games if you played in the fall? Mm-hmm. Do you allow, 70,000 people in Kroger Field here to come and watch us play whoever we end up opening the season with? Do you play the whole season? Are we going to play all 12 games? Yeah. Are you going to play conference games only? Do you get one conference, one non-conference plus a conference? Like, there's a lot of things that people are talking about, but I mean, we honestly, no one's said anything to us. It's all speculation, and it's, the powers that be are going to make the decision. The NCAA and presidents and athletic directors.
Well, and I think what I thought until yesterday was that what you may find interesting is that I thought that, well, whatever the Division I schools do, the FCS, D2, D3, and everybody, all of football is going to do whatever. It's going to go from the top down. And I heard something yesterday that was like, I never thought about this. It's like, for small colleges, it's totally different, because they don't, as long as students are on campus and there is a way to play, they want to play. And D3 could be playing in the fall, and you guys could be in a split season. I've even seen that, play some games and then take off in the winter and come back in the spring. I've seen that. I've seen, let's start training camp in February, where for us, it may be a deal where we're not as tied to the television revenue as the big schools are. And, and a friend of ours who's been a Power 5, who's a Power 5 athletic director and so forth, had mentioned to me, said, look, he goes, a lot of times the small schools could actually be in a little better shape to play, because the percentage of their total athletic department budget is significantly less from what they're expecting on the outside. And if it's a deal where, like, let's say, for instance, you guys generate a lot of revenue in football, and then basketball creates revenue, and that may be the only two sports that actually make a profit, which is common at that level. So if you don't get the multiple millions of dollars from football, like that stadium right behind you there, it's like, if you don't get that, then you're going to be hurting, because other sports may sink, or I mean, there's D1 schools already I saw where they're talking about dropping to less than 14 sports because they can't support them all if they don't play football. And it's interesting. You're at a place that they used to say, oh, it's a basketball school, but I'm looking behind you. It looks like a football school to me, because a lot of people don't realize it's like, even the great basketball programs out there like Kansas and North Carolina and Duke, and you all don't make anywhere near what the football revenue is because of television.
No, and television drives everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the NFL, they could play in front of 0 fans and they're still going to make the same amount of money.
Yeah, they're fortunate. The owners may not make as much, but they can pay the players just with TV. So that's what football is going to be interesting as we move forward. And I just thought it was interesting to notice that maybe D3 could play, or we might push it back a little bit, and D1 may do something totally different.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, because even if they come out and say, and it all goes back to what they were initially talking about with basketball. You play the sport, you have limited fans and all that, no more than 2,000-3,000 people and all that. Well, a lot of, when I was at Capitol, I don't know if we ever had 3,000 people at a game.
No.
So you're not dealing with as many people, and it may be within that threshold where we're dealing with close to 70,000 that come to a game. The NFL, the Cowboys are getting 80, 90,000 at a game. And that's where I think the higher you get in level, the more cautious they're going to be, is because there's more close contact with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's going to be fun to see where this goes and how different coaching staffs around the country take advantage of this opportunity, because it's different. And you're seeing a lot of online, clinics and all these good things for football coaches to stay engaged. And I know you're doing that, and everybody else I know is very engaged in that. So I want to thank you for coming on our Swarm and Shoot football show. This podcast, obviously it comes out every Thursday here, and, and we get the word out. But I want to thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you and giving you a big hug when I do see you. And tell the kids I said hi, and Corey and all that. And, I wish you the best. Okay.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this latest episode of the Swarm and Shoot football show. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure to subscribe in iTunes, give us a rating, comment on the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell in the top corner there, so you can get notifications when we release the next show. Feel free to comment below on a specific show, and we'll answer those questions as we need to. If you'd like to step up to the next level and get all kinds of updates, go to our website, swarmandshoot.com, where you'll get up-to-date alerts on all of our podcasts. You'll have the audio on there. There's actually a video player where you can scroll through each and every episode that we have of the podcast from the YouTube version. So you never really have to leave the site. You'll also see some features on various players, our coaching staff bios, all types of things going on in our program, when our golf scramble is, different fundraisers we do, just insights for you that take you to that next level, which is what swarmandshoot.com will do for you. Take a minute and subscribe with your email. When you log on, there'll actually probably be a pop-up about 6 seconds into it, and it gives you a chance to go in, and that will put you into our email database. So every time we update, you get an email knowing that we're basically set to go on the next episode of the podcast or any news that's coming out. Appreciate you supporting the program, and look forward to a wonderful season.